Hi everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. Hey, we have a return of a Wyrm. And, I'm also trying to get to, we have... Hey! Quickly, get snacks! Lure him back! Treats! It's like a cat.
There's actually something. I forgot to do a thing.
Oh, okay.
I just took the opportunity as the joke to do that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine opportunity. Yeah. So we're gonna be diving back into some things. Last week we caught up a bit since we had a couple weeks off. Surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of huge news in the last 2 weeks, which is fine. And we kind of touched on some things last week, so that's good. But yes, welcome back, Wyrm. We'll also hopefully be getting a couple of guests over the next couple of weeks, I think, maybe, possibly. So we're having a resurgence, at least for now. yeah, we had some difficult weeks there, even with just me and Joe and stuff. So
yeah,
even getting us together.
I should be more consistent. I will probably be gone next week though, but I should be more consistent just because
I think there
will be 1 week a month where I'll be gone.
Yeah, well, that 1 week a month is fine. It's again, like, I'm trying to get a couple more people for regular, and, as I said last week, I'm trying to, rework some things to make it a little bit easier for all of us, maybe find a fourth, so that, when Joe and you are missing, I could still maybe do it with a second person or something, and, we just don't hit some of this. Anyway, so... we do have an interesting docket of things to talk about today. First off, Magic the Gathering. I do want to talk about the new Ravnica set with mechanics and tokens. We're just going to hit on that a little bit. D&D Unearthed Arcana. They put out Dragonmarks. That's an interesting one. Me and Joe talked about the Pathfinder Return of the Runelords Adventure 1. So I do want to hit up on Adventure 2. Because Adventure 1 came out a couple of weeks ago. And Adventure 1 was was coming out, this week. So hey, Pathfinder the plane. Oh, mine. I put it planes hippers.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's so bad spelling.
Plane hippers.
Plane hoppers.
Hippers.
Oh, that's very different.
Yeah.
Nope. Plane hippers.
Plane hoppers handbook.
Because I was only able to find. I thought it was plane skippers, which was a thing.
Well, that's what Google suggested when I pasted it in with the wrong spelling. It said Pathfinder plane skippers. I'm like, oh, did he completely get that word wrong? Because I was like, look. And then I changed it to hoppers, and I was like, oh no, it's plane hoppers. It's just spelled it wrong.
Oh my god! I didn't even realize that. Unfortunately, Discord has the one problem is it doesn't have an autocorrect for when I make something like that.
It does. It's just that kind of thing is.
Yeah, it's hipper, which is still a word.
I don't notice it ever for things. At least on when I'm doing it on the computer. On my phone, it does that. But anyway,
you may want to check your settings because I think there is an autocorrect.
Oh, I don't have. I probably have it off. I probably have it off. Mm-hmm. We want to talk about Munchkin.
You need
releases.
to have it on. Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a reason I have it on.
We'll talk about Munchkin, some releases. There's some card game releases, a couple of them, and some CCG releases, which we might hint on a little bit there. And then 2 coming soon games, which I thought were interesting to talk about. Pandemic, Fall of Rome. So, Plague in Rome? Okay. And Discovering New Lands by Fantasy Flight, because Fantasy Flight has been moving from their kind of card games, RPGs, into some board games too, and I want to talk about it.
Wait, does that just mean you're playing Rome?
Yes, probably, maybe.
Well, I think it's interesting. Pandemic, Fall of Rome.
We shall fight this with leeches.
It's out because to me, if you're going to do a pandemic historical game, Pandemic Black Plague.
Yeah, or you've got. Yeah.
Rome didn't end because of a disease.
We'll talk about that when we get to it. Kickstarter Korner, our week in tabletop and consult table to finish up the day. All right. Magic. I put the tokens in here, which are cool because I love tokens, but it's really about the mechanics, because they do have the 4 mechanics, including 1 returning mechanic in Convoke, which I don't think we've seen since the original Ravnica block, really. I don't know if we saw it in the second block, which convokes an interesting one that you can use creatures that you have to cast spells. I like it. It's a cool mechanic. Great that they're returning it. But the other 4, because Surveil's kind of interesting.
It's like a scry, except stuff goes to your graveyard.
Yeah, if you want to. You know, that actually I feel is more useful than a scry at times. Because if you're Surveil would work very well in graveyard decks. And I think that's what it's for, is when you're trying to get stuff in your graveyard. Yeah.
Scry is just useful to be like, do I need this right now? No? Bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
That is more, do I need this? Yeah, it could be useful, but it's more useful instead of the graveyard right now.
Yeah. Jumpstart's kind of cool. It's another play from graveyard and then exile it kind of thing. It gets more instants and sorceries. They've done that. The thing is, they've done similar mechanics a lot.
Yeah.
I think this one's a little different because it's discard a card.
Well, you got to remember with the native mechanics, sometimes it's an old mechanic that they actually just give a name to too.
Yeah, and I think they had they've had similar abilities, but not quite.
Yeah, nothing exactly the same. But I'm just saying, no. Yeah. That's why sometimes you'll get look at him like, wait, isn't that been done before? Hasn't that been done before? And it's like, oh yeah, they just gave it a name now.
And I think
so what do token creatures do?
Token creatures are effectively just creatures in a way.
It's when they get destroyed, instead of they hit the graveyard, but they just disappear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's basically...
It's technically what it is if a token creature leaves the play, it hits whatever it's supposed to go to and then disappears. So it will trigger anything of if something returns to hand, if something hits graveyard, they do trigger those, but then they cease to exist because they don't have a card.
Yeah, so if you return a token to someone's hand, the token just disappears.
It technically it would still have hit the person's hand. It's just that there's nothing there anymore.
Yeah, a token just represents...
I understand how... I know what tokens are now. I just thought, because when I looked up tokens, I ran into token cards. Which is they actually have cards for them, which is weird.
Yeah, they do have cards for them, because, at a certain point in time, 10 years... it's probably more than 10 years now, but they were like, hey, you know what? People don't want to just represent these with, little dice or marbles or something, or those blood tokens from that were in Vampire.
If you remember, originally the magic tokens were those little marble things you put in fish tanks. Those were the official ones.
Yeah. Well, those were also the same things that they used in Vampire too.
Yeah. Also, because Yu-Gi-Oh did do something similar to this with the card Scapegoat, which is in theory just a magic card which allows you to play tokens, but they actually did make Scapegoat token cards.
Yeah. And it makes sense then. It makes it easier to represent these things in your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And Magic's become very good at getting their tokens. Even the most obscure ones, back in the day, even when they started tokens, they did a lot of the simple ones that skipped some of the obscure, weird ones. Now they do that for everything. Just
yeah.
And I'm a big fan of tokens. I have a big collection of them, so it's.
And I'm the exact opposite. I never really use them. I just normally use dice, just because I don't want to have to carry around a bunch of tokens.
I'm usually lazy, unfortunately, when it comes to the tokens too nowadays. It's
they're useful, but it's just it's more cards I have to carry, and then it's I gotta make sure they don't get shuffled in the deck. And
oh yeah.
There's that wouldn't be a problem with Yu-Gi-Oh anyway, because you already have an extra deck.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I have my box of tokens, which I could totally bring with me, but then it's fishing out the proper ones every time. I guess.
And it's also carrying a box of tokens.
Yeah. So I don't think they have anything majorly important for the tokens that they have right now. I mean, that's the thing is The goblins there is like a goblin token in almost every set, it seems like, that has goblins in it. The other ones, they are unique to the set, at least. Like Lifelink Soldier, Bird Illusion, an Angel with both Flying and Vigilance, the Knight and Insect, which are colored, and then, of course, the emblems for the Planeswalkers. But as for the remaining 2 abilities, Undergrowth seems like something that we've seen sort of before. That, like, it triggers something from, number of creatures in your graveyard.
Yeah. And then Mentor.
Mentor's an interesting one.
Yeah, it seems like, by the way, like, just looking up Yu-Gi-Oh! So, sorry, I always compare things to Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's fine.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And it seems like, though, from what I'm looking up right now, the only token cards they made were for the card Scapegoat. Everything else are very generic token cards. Like, they didn't make token cards for other things, but they're very generic, like a picture of Yugi, or, like, basically shots from the show, other things. They look all very generic. So they're probably, they weren't meant to be nearly as specific, like, oh, goblin tokens, and then you play the, like, goblin token.
I think that's the thing, is, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Evolved in a direction that didn't really require a lot of tokens, while Magic started out with very few tokens.
There were a lot of tokens early on, especially since, like, their starting came out with Scapegoat, which was a token.
I think that's, like, kind of started and moved away from it, while Magic started with, like, a little bit. I think the main one for tokens originally was, like, the Hive back in Unlimited, and they have since then pushed forward and evolved a lot more of them. It's sort of the opposite direction for each of them. Like, one started out with more tokens and became less, and the other started out with a few.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Just never really had Yu-Gi-Oh! They always had some. Like, I think I had a later deck that did have tokens still. It's just, they just weren't as, they just didn't get more of them. They just kept a small amount of them throughout. Yeah. So it wasn't like a very, and because they were so unique, it was a lot harder probably to create. They'd have to create a specific token card for each thing,
Yeah.
Like Scapegoat are these 4 things. They actually have 4 token cards, each to represent a different scapegoat, because Scapegoat is 4 little goat things.
Yeah. Like, and the thing about Magic is it's got to a point in time where, like, token decks are an entire theme you can do now.
Yeah.
And
I don't think a token deck is ever really a thing I've seen with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
You can have a deck with multiple versions of like Scapegoat. I've heard of like a Scapegoat deck where you build things around Scapegoat, but never really where tokens are the main thing. It tends to be like, oh, this is an essential token card to my deck, but not
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see the evolution of some of these long win card games. Anyway, one of these mechanics, and compare them too. I'm like, I would be interested if we could find like someone sometime to talk with us about like the Pokemon card game who actually knows it.
Yeah.
To like compare like how it modern is, because the thing is like I dabbled into both a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and tried them out, but it's been like a lot of years, and I was like, neither were really for me. And I respect that there's people that have loved them even up until now,
Yeah. It's funny because when I was a kid, I dabbled with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. I stuck with Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Pokemon seemed less interesting to me. But when it came to Magic, it's like, when I looked at Magic, I thought, oh, that's kind of an elitist game. I don't really want to get into that.
God, I think there was a period that it was very elitist, There was, like, Magic has had its ups and downs, and I think, like, right now it's pretty good. There are still some very, really bad problems behind the scenes that you can always see. But it's improved a lot of those,
Yeah.
Like,
and it seems like a pretty good game. Like, I would get into it now. It's just, like, I'd probably have to spend like $200 just to get into it.
Magic has problems when it comes to tournaments, and I would say never go into a tournament.
Yeah, I would do it with casual play, but it's like
casual play is so fun.
Honestly, if you wanted to get into it, and especially for casual play, just buy like one. If you want to if you're not looking to try to get old stuff, if you want to start with just the new stuff, you just buy a box of Magic for like 100 and something, and you're set.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but it'd be like a couple, like 100 or two, and
Yeah.
you're like, that's kind of an expense to get into something that I don't have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think there are some starter decks, like the Planeswalker decks.
Oh, yeah.
like, those things.
You could,
Like you get one of those for like 15, and
or
you
the
got
dual
those
decks for like 15 to 20, and you have 2 decks to start out with, and then you can buy packs as you want to modify and change.
Fortunately,
Yeah,
they do have an easy start for like just for casual, and I was talking with someone like
Or a fat pack.
I would love to like start some like maybe someday in the future start like a Discord video Magic series if I can actually get like a good desk space for playing it or something one day.
Honestly, what we need to do one time is I think we just need to find like an online Magic game, or even just maybe even have it on like.
There's a couple that they're not.
Lackey CCG
does have Magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has Magic, and it would be easy to screen capture.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point is, like, we have to do a stream, you and I, Tantus, where you just teach me how to play Magic.
That'd be fine. We'd have to do that at some point. But returning to the topic at hand, I actually think they've did a very good theme with the mechanics that they're doing for this set. I do, they usually do a very good job with Ravnica. Nothing seems like too ridiculous. Like all of them seem pretty decent. I think Undergrowth and Mentor feel the weakest, but even then they don't feel terrible. Like I can see some combos with Undergrowth with the get a big bonus with creatures in your graveyard.
The one thing I also wanted to point out is they brought back the split card.
Yeah, split cards. I think that's been like a theme. Split cards and hybrid mana cards have been a big theme in Ravnica, and they brought both back, which are great.
Yeah. I love the split cards. That's why I wanted to mention about that, because I'm like, hey, they're unique looking.
Mm-hmm.
They're versatile.
I do like how they have I saw that they have a split card that one's hybrid mana and one's normal of like two, like just gold.
Yeah, it's status and stature.
Yeah, they're like based on each of the.
Sorry, they had the picture, right side up, so you have to cock your head to really see it.
Oh my god, it's awful. Yeah, I know.
Target creature status is target creature gets +1/+1 and gains death touch until end of turn.
And
or stature is destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment.
Yeah, it's good.
And status is just 1 black or 1 green.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to draw attention to one card, which I just find hilarious. It's the Affectionate Indrik. Because it's like nuzzling someone, but it's like knocking them over at the same time. And it's hilarious and adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, so far from reading the quotes, one of my favorite one is Bargaining or Barraging Sergeant. It's a Minotaur soldier, and it says, "Don't stop until your horns come out their back."
Yep.
Oh, and the text for the Affectionate Indrik is the problem isn't Indrik's enthusiasm; it's Ravnica's lack of handrails or guardrails.
Yep. I mean, they have such great flavor, and there's definitely some very good ones here.
That's the one thing I always disliked about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that they only put flavor text on normal creatures, which are all but useless now.
Mm-hmm.
Like a standard creature, there are uses for them. Like you want a couple in your deck, but it's like they've kind of exhausted the purpose of them because it's like effect monsters are the way to go, but then they don't put flavor text on effect creatures.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's the biggest creature. The 16/16 indestructible convoke creature for 10 mana. I mean, that thing is ridiculous. Ooh. But anyway.
That's pretty damn big. I mean,
the only disadvantage.
It's one of those things where you have an entire deck around getting it out.
It's particularly easy. It's just giving it trample would be difficult, which is the only thing that makes it actually a threat. If it doesn't have that ability to like just tear over smaller creatures, or ones could block it.
Make it unblockable.
Yeah, I mean, if you play like a green
flying.
Yeah, there's a lot of combinations that could make it more deadly, but you'd have to play some unusual color combinations for the building of the set, you know, which isn't necessarily bad.
No, I think the only other kind of creature that I think was naturally bigger than that would have been what the hell were they? The ones that only when they attacked, they also destroyed cards.
I don't think the Krakens are bigger.
Not Kraken. They're like a colorless. They also
Eldrazi?
Eldrazi.
I don't know. There's a bigger Eldrazi. That's a good question. That's a good question.
That's the only other ones that I could think of that might have had a bigger creature. Would have been an Eldrazi.
1616 is like the biggest, I think, natural printed card creature, because I think there's like a 2020 legendary token creature, Merit Lage. Merit Lage is like stupidly ridiculous and really hard to play.
Okay. Let me know if I sound weird. I just did a thing because I realized I forgot to turn on my fan canceling software.
Sounds fine. I hadn't noticed anything, but then again, you know, sometimes
I
don't
like it's not a big deal generally. Like it's just I just like to have it on, so it's not.
Yeah, I get you.
Yep. But sometimes when I turn on that software, it can make me sound funny, which is why I asked. Because when I go all roboty and stuff, it's usually because of that software.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Eldrazi are like 12.
Yeah,
that might 10. 15 was the World Spine Wyrm.
Yeah. I think that was the second biggest one, and this is now 1616. They're slowly but surely upping.
Emrakul was a 15 as well.
Okay.
But that's still one less.
Yeah, they're basically continually upping themselves just a little bit.
But also Emrakul, though, which it might have been one less power and toughness, but it also had flying and protection from colored spells and Annihilate 6.
Yeah, Emrakul was just, and you took an extra turn when you played it from your, you know, when you cast it.
Yeah.
Emrakul was just gross.
And also gets shuffled back into your deck from your graveyard.
I remember when, like, this kind of reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it's slowly upping more and more. I remember in Yu-Gi-Oh! When 4,500 was, like, the best card in terms of, like, attack or defense. And it's, like, now it's probably, like, if I had to guess, like, 8,000? Because they just keep going up and up and up over time.
Yeah, no, I get that.
They increase probably a lot more rapidly than, like, Magic seems to be keeping it.
But I have a question. Has it ever been over 9,000?
I don't know. You could definitely get one over 9,000 with equip cards, but
your unnecessarily ancient DBG
reference. Wait. There is a magic card. It is unglued.
The unhinged one. Yeah.
The BFM, Big Furry Monster. It's a 99.99.
Well, that doesn't count. It half counts because it's made to be a joke card. You know,
it's also 2 cards big.
Yes, it was weird.
Yeah, unglued.
Unglued has weird crap, always. Hey, there's a magic card. I should have put one up earlier.
Okay. Apparently, looking it up, they've capped out at 5,000. They won't. I think they just won't go higher than that for a base stat now.
That's good that they found, like, a point where they want to say, like, we're capping it. I think the thing about Magic is because, like, with bonuses and all that stuff, you can get pretty ridiculously sized things. They're like, you know, because I could stupidly, it would be a lot difficult to do. I could have a creature with infinite power, you know? A good example would be there's the Mossbridge Troll, which you tap creatures to give it +20/+20. If I do an infinite token combo, maybe I can only attack with one creature. Hey, my Mossbridge Troll has trample. I tap all my, like, token creatures, which I have infinite of, to give it infinite power. You know, it's like, it's stupid.
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, if you're going unofficial, technically there is an unofficial Yu-Gi-Oh card whose stat is 10,000.
Yeah, unofficial things get crazy, especially, like, on some of the Magics, the Unglued, Unhinged, and God.
Oh yeah, I just had to.
I'm not remembering.
I just had to mention that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh wait, there was one. Of course, it's Unhinged.
Yes. I think I'm I'm kind of glad the direction that they're taking with the Ravnica one, because I've been worried about it a little bit, because like we've seen in the past when they revisit a plane very quickly, it doesn't end well. Like when they went back to Zendikar, it didn't really end well. When they went back to Innistrad, it didn't really end well because these were popular places originally and they wanted to come back quickly. This is fairly quickly since the last one. This doesn't look bad, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe because it is one of the most popular places to visit and like these cards are very popular, maybe they can pull it off. A third visit to here. It looks okay. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see more. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on.
Interesting is how few white cards are added in this.
Yes, there should be at least a. The thing is, like, if you look at the balance of the groups they have, I think they should have representation between 2 guilds for each of them. You know? And we're not seeing it right now. Yeah. No, they should have a representation of 2 guilds for each of them. Because the guilds are 2 mana each. And they haven't spoiled a lot of... They've spoiled a lot of blue and black and red. A little bit more green, a little less green, and like no white so far.
I'm going to let you guys continue for a second. I got to run real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. Do a quick run.
Okay.
Why don't we finish up Magic and then move on to D&D, though, I'm thinking. Because, I mean, we can talk more in the future. This new set's coming out, you know, it's going to be something to talk about. All right, so D&D put out an Unearthed Arcana again. I don't think I was actually okay, it's September. I should have been expecting one. It's a new month. I wasn't for whatever reason. I guess it's because, like, we've had, like, weird show schedules. I've been thinking of, like, oh, didn't they just put the one out for, like, last month? Oh, yes, they did. So, they put out Dragonmarks, which is an Eberron thing, which I know very little of, but I like looking over them. They do seem interesting as a thing. They grant like an intuition die in certain abilities to perform certain tasks. There are various marks. They give like, you know, basis of appearance, what they do, and they seem to be almost like they're associated with races apparently. Yeah. For like humans, a Dragonmark is a variant race that replaces its normal traits associated with those races. Like half-elves, you keep some of the standard half-elf traits and replace others, like dwarves, elves, gnomes, halflings. Dragonmarks replace the sub-race. And so that's kind of interesting.
Oh. Yeah, that is interesting how they did that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't read through it like super well.
I read through it a little bit too. Because it's like it's an unusual thing, and that's why I wasn't like, you know.
Yeah,
super...
I mean it kind of makes sense because like what they previously had is Dragonmarks as feats, which is problematic because then you can have them at first level if you're not a human.
Yeah.
Or using the human variant. And that was always just an unofficial Unearthed Arcana thing. I think they're trying to... Like, they're doing a lot of Eberron stuff, which makes me think they're going to try and release an Eberron book soon.
Well, they did the PDF Eberron. They put out a...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, what they did before. But with all of this work they're putting into it now makes me think they're going to eventually release an Eberron book. Kind of
like a physical one?
Adventurer's Guide.
That's what I'm thinking of. Like, I would just think that if they could release the Wayfarer's Guide in physical form... You know, the Wayfarer's Guide is a lot of pages if you look at it. Why haven't they released it physically? You know?
Probably because they don't want it to be official.
That's weird, because they're officially releasing it under their information, but they're not yet...
Okay, so
they're not, like...
Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
By official, I mean Adventurers League.
Yeah, Adventurers League. Yeah, okay, I get you that one. They've done the weird gray area for Eberron, which is kind of strange.
Uh-huh. And I think because just right now because they don't have any stories in Eberron, so they don't want Eberron stuff being official yet, I guess. So maybe they're probably going to release this with an Eberron Adventure module or something.
That's true. And it's weird that they're doing...
It just seems like a lot of work to revamp something that otherwise is kind of like they already touched on, you know?
Well, that's the thing is, like, when they put out the Eberron book, I'm like, this is a lot of work for not having a physical copy and only a PDF. I did not understand the level of work, you know, because it's like, I forget how many pages, like, it's over 100, it's like maybe 100, 200 pages or something. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's probably because they don't always go into the, like, precise because if you remember, like, they were doing stuff with, like, classes for a long time.
Yeah.
Before they said, oh, by the way, we're going to be releasing Xanther's Guide.
Yeah, Xanathar's Guide.
So I have a feeling that's what's happening here. They're trying to, like, if at the very least they're trying to gauge hype for Eberron, to try and see if people are interested in it.
Yeah, that might be it. They're using the Wayfarer's Guide as a world guide more than anything, and they eventually will put out like a player's guide almost. They'll probably call it something else because they're creative with their names, with like Xanathar's Guide and like Mordecai's book and stuff.
See, that's the thing is, if Wayfarer's Guide is just the world, what they're probably going to do is re-edit that, add in mechanics, because the Sword Coast Adventure Guide adds in mechanics as well as like the world. Yeah, and that's probably what they're going to want to do. Because
I think the Wayfarer's Guide, all it had was like some of the races stuff, like the races of Eberron, pretty much. So adding like things like the Dragonmarks would be something to like an updated version of it to print out. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, these are definitely very interesting things to take. You know, you get all these like little powers, and I would be interested to see like what kind of combination would work best with playing with some of these. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be Eberron specific, but I guess if you're homebrewing your own world anyway, you can just make up any good old reason to put them into your world.
Yeah, I don't plan to put these into my world, to be honest. I may allow a weird rehashing of it, assuming I actually read through these and deem them balanced.
I don't have an opportunity at this point in time to use them, you know? I probably wouldn't use them if I'm just playing something in, like, Faerun or something. But, like my homebrew world that I've been doing, I mean, a Dragonmark could make sense in it, but there's no like good reason right now unless a character dies, kind of thing.
I'm back.
Welcome back. We were talking about Dragonmarks and unearthed arcana.
They seem interesting.
They do. They're different, and we were talking about how we think that this might be like a lead up for eventually them actually putting out a printed Eberron book, maybe like in a year or something. Similar to like with stuff with Danikar's Guide and stuff like that.
Right.
And they did a whole bunch of class stuff for probably like a year before they eventually were like, and even announced, like, by the way, we're going to be putting this all into a book. It's like, oh, okay.
And they're not like long-term hyping it as much anymore. Because if you think about it, it was only a couple of months ago they announced the 2 adventures for Waterdeep.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I actually think that's a good thing, because I think Wizards is one of the few companies that seems to have realized that long-term hype leads to disappointment. Because the longer you hype something, the better people expect it to be. Meaning, I think they've been smart and realized that, oh yeah, we're not going to, like, we may be working on something for a long time, but we're not going to announce it until it's like a month or 2 out.
Like, because I think, like, they still do put out, like, a little blocks things. Like, you know, they announced, I think back when they announced the Waterdeep ones, they announced the Ravnica book. But that's the exact same time that they put out the Eberron book. They're just like, oh, and by the way, we also have this Eberron PDF. It's like, we're announcing, you know, with the Dragon
Heist. That's a very smart thing, because they're putting it out as like a secondary, like, we have this main feature, and here's another thing. I'm curious what you think of it.
Yeah.
I feel like they're being really smart about it. Like, they're just trying to, like, gauge it to see interest, see how much work they want to put into it, see if they want to do something official with it, which I think they are planning to, because they've started to put a lot more, because the last, like, 2 or 3, like, because the last one was, there's Races of Ravnica was last.
They've been switching between Eberron and Ravnica, Ravnica as what their focus seems to be. So I'm thinking, you know, they're still hyping up Ravnica because, that's the big book coming out, and that's where Magic truly will meet D&D. You know, they've hinted at it, and they're like, hey, guess what? You can play your Magic the Gathering worlds now. And people we're combining our two big flagship things in a way, you know. They probably will not do cards versions of stuff for Magic, you know, from D&D.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder to do. Putting it, you know, the worlds that they have all this lore into, that's easier.
Yep.
So
the marks are definitely interesting. The grossest one is Aberrant.
Oh, the Aberrant ones they're talking about at the end? Yeah.
Oh.
Because
Like, you can increase your the power of an Aberrant spell at the risk of your own vitality. When you cast a spell with an Aberrant mark, you can use one of your hit dice to increase the spell level by 1, and then afterwards roll that hit dice and take that much damage.
Yeah,
That's
the
cool.
Aberrant
really
ones
cool.
are meant to be like, it's a feat that you take after like you have it. That you're like your Dragonmark is Aberrant, you know, and so you get some bonuses, but it also has defects. Like they also have the Greater Dragonmark feat. That basically, I think they wanted to keep a little bit of the feat connection to the original Dragonmark, but they're sort of like doing it that you start out racial, and then you would have to require.
Okay, so it's when two Dragonmark families have a child. Interesting. So from two different Dragonmarks, it creates an Aberrant Dragonmark. Because Dragonmarks are heritable. Whatever.
It's heredity based.
There we go.
Hereditary.
But at the same time, they can also appear at random from normal people. But I can see now why families are a thing, because I didn't know about Aberrant Dragonmark. I can see why they very much tie together, because they're very problematic when they mix.
And the interesting thing that I think is really different here is, if you see, they also are adding in a couple of spells. They have Gust
with the
cantrip, and they have
Control
Control Winds. Yeah, and the Gust cantrip. Which, Control Winds is one of those ones that I'm kind of, like, sad they haven't had up until now, because I found it was, like, one of those weird, cool ones that I liked using in other editions.
It has, because it's like, it has, No, I can see why, especially since one of the things I actually found annoying is that, they have these spells. Can be, they have a couple spells, like, I don't think Cloud Kill, but there's like some of those gas which can be dispersed with like a strong gust of wind, and it's like they have one wind spell in the default.
Well, I think wind spells were kind of like, people were like looked at them and were like, but it's like they aren't like
that's because in the previous games they were very niche.
Yeah.
So in Pathfinder, this is my problem in Pathfinder, because I haven't played like anything older than Pathfinder, but in Pathfinder, you have a bunch of spells, all very niche, and you have to pick like 4 of them. It's like, well, I'm just gonna pick Magic Missile, Mage Armor, Firebolt, and some. It's like you just don't have a lot of spells to work with, and it's like you have each one for cast. It's like, okay, I can cast. I have to prepare 2 Magic Missiles, a Mage Armor, and another. And so it's like wind spells felt very useless by comparison to other spells.
No, I agree. It's there's definitely some problems with Pathfinder that we've always kind of seen, and I think like that's one of those things that the playtest is attempting to correct. Which it sounds like I've heard some mixed reviews of the playtest for people that actually play, because it looks very good on paper, but it doesn't play as well as people want it to, which is an interesting problem. That if it looks good on paper, but is it like as good off paper? That's kind of a weird problem to have.
Hey, Matt.
What?
I can think of what Dragonmark, my character for Thursdays would want.
What?
Mark of Handling.
It's guys. It's racial, fortunately, so we don't have to worry about it.
I'm just saying because then he really could handle any animal.
Yes. Yes, indeed. That's his character's catchphrase.
I know there was I watched a bit, and I know it's like, I've practiced this on sheep before was a thing that.
Yeah, that's also. I still do that. That's what I normally say, but if you put this exclamation card Rufus, it comes up, Rufus can handle any animal.
Oh, it's one R, one F?
Rufus. There you go. Yeah. See? Rufus can handle any animal.
it's the just the way that they emphasize it. And
I always make... Okay.
I have to complain about the one thing about Winter is he put in a exclam door, because the fact is that Rufus, you check every goddamn door, and
yes.
like 95% of doors are just goddamn doors.
Yes.
I'm sorry, there is that 5% that may have traps or locks or something special about them, but 95% of doors are goddamn doors, and you check like every door.
Yes.
So it's like, it's a door. Yes. It's a goddamn door.
It's the one door that I don't check, it's going to bite me in the butt.
The thing is, you oftentimes roll really poorly on your checks to check doors.
I'd say it's a little above 50-50.
Yes. But it's going to be that one time you check it and I'm like, it's a door, then it's not a door still.
But I'm saying, the one time I don't check it at all, it's not going to be a door. It's going to be like a mimic or something.
Yes. I'm not doing mimic doors. You guys missed
mimic doors are mean. No, mimic doors are mean, because it's like,
oh yeah,
I go to open the door, you turn the handle, your hand's stuck.
Yep. The thing is, there was a mimic they could have fought, and they've already missed it.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tends to be. There's like, honestly, it's really funny because I don't actually, like, I've yet to throw a mimic at people in my games because people are just so suspicious of mimics that I'm like, I'm gonna wait till people, like, are unaware before I throw a mimic at you guys, because you guys just, it's like, is it a mimic? Is it a mimic? Well, I think G-Man was kind of like that, where it's like, is it a mimic? I check for a mimic, it's like...
If I were to use a mimic, I would just make it like either a mundane item or a sword or something like that, and be like,
no, yeah.
Oh, there's a sword here? I'm gonna pick it up. Your hand's stuck to it now. It's devouring you.
Actually, that is actually what I did, is the mimic, if you guys had found it, was a suit of armor.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
You don the armor.
Yes.
You are now consumed.
You are now consumed. Congratulations. The thing is, I tried to...
You have got it to consume it.
It's bad enough you use those freaking, dark mantles.
I did use dark mantles on you guys.
Oh, dark mantles are fun. I use dark mantles on you guys in Fashion Frontier.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yes, but I'm a halfling. It eats half my body at once.
Yes.
Who was it that got dark mantle? I feel like it was either... Was it Tim or G-Man?
I don't think it was me. It could have been me, because I don't remember, like...
It wasn't you, and it wasn't Nowhere. I remember
there's occasional specifics that I forget, I
distinctly remember something about G-Man trying to punch it, and Tiv kind of being like, blah, which is why I think it's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to use a torch on mine, because that's what I had in my hand. And somehow I missed.
You flailed wildly because you couldn't really like see and stuff. You're like, ah!
By the way, the dark mantle was like the first game, if I remember correctly.
That could have well been. My God, the first game, it's like we were testing things out a lot, and I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah, because the first game was where you fought, like, where you were in the cave and fought the spiders and stuff.
Yeah.
Or sorry, second game. That was second game. The mines.
Yeah, still, it was early enough on. We had quite a lot of sessions. But returning to Dragonmarks, yes, they're cool. They're interesting. I'd say take a look for yourself, see if they are appropriate to your game, whatever you're doing. If you're doing Eberron, great. If you're doing something like Faerun, it doesn't really necessarily fit flavor-wise, but I guess you could always fit it flavor-wise if you really wanted to. And, see for yourself, like any good unearthed arcana. Okay, let's dive into the next one. I want to talk about two Pathfinder products. The Adventure Path for Return Runelords 2, it came from Hollow Mountain, and the Planehopper's Handbook.
I'm actually going to be right back now.
Okay. What about the Plane Skipper's Handbook?
Skipper, only if Barbie's around.
What if Gilligan's around?
Gilligan is oftentimes a jerk. So, unintentional, but a jerk nonetheless.
But you can still have Skipper. Just a different Skipper.
How about the Professor or Marianne? Anyway,
and the movie star. Because
The joke
we're not going
was-
to give her say her
The
name.
joke was, if you guys had noticed you probably didn't notice in the docket, because I corrected it before I put docket out, but it had been playing Skipper's God.
Oh no, it said played hippers, and if you search that in Google, it suggested skippers.
Yeah, it was a bit bad. It was bad. So it came from Hollow Mountain. I mean, they're sort of continuing with where they left off. They're dealing with ephemeral lords, some various things like that. And it's like knowledge against the rune lords. I think I just wanted to kind of hit on this one a little bit because we did talk about it last week that I do want to watch the evolution of this. This one doesn't seem to be hitting into the it's for 5th level though. So I mean, like,
Yes.
if you consider that's already a lot of levels you gained in the first adventure. You got to 5th level in the first adventure. I didn't know you gained 4 levels. Most of these adventure paths give you 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, get you to like 3rd or 4th level.
But what's the final adventure path going to take you to?
Probably
Yeah.
20th. I mean,
So then that makes sense if they're, if they want you to hit 20th,
yeah,
you're going to have a more rapid progression.
Yeah, you're going to have a big progression. And that's the thing is, I think I think it's Wrath of the Righteous is the one where they get the, not epic levels, but like the mythic adventure stuff in there. And that
Yeah.
one, I think you go to like 20th level. But that's the thing is, you go to 20th Mythic 10. Because that's like the ridiculous, overpowered level that you can kind of get to. Because I think it's every 2 levels of Mythic, it counts as 1 CR for you, effectively 1 level. So you get to like CR 25. But they're not going that route here,
No.
fortunately. Cause
It looks like you're only gaining 3 levels, though, in the second book, because the third one says you're starting at level 8.
that's not necessarily bad because it is 6
No.
adventures. And like 4 levels should be about the actually technically like 3 levels should be the average.
But then looks like the fourth one, you start at level 11, so you're gaining 4 there.
Yeah, so well that would be the kind of halfway point though, if you
Yeah.
consider that. So if they keep the same right out, that definitely puts them towards 20. Like,
And it might be the last adventure might be a bigger push, too.
yeah, well, like that's the thing is we don't know how they're gonna do the last adventure for putting you to the top levels.
Right, they only
But-
have up to 4 on the site that they're, have blurbs about.
But I definitely am interested to keep an eye on this one, and that's why I kind of wanted to mention this one. I don't think we're going to dive into this one because it seems fairly generic still too. We're not hitting into like the
Right.
big story points, but as the capstone adventure path that it might be, that's just why we kind of like want to.
Okay, actually, 5th level starts at 14.
The 5th one adventure.
Or 5th adventure, yeah. 5th adventure starts at 14th level.
Which is like the final level for certain adventure paths, as I recall.
Yeah, so this one definitely is going to probably take you up to 20 on the 6th one.
Oh, yeah.
By the end of the 6th one.
Yeah, by the end of it, you should be 20th level, which not a lot of the adventure paths hit the 20th level, that's one of those things that I think was always kind of a little sad about it, because it's like you always want to that's like the culmination of your character. It's the end point for a character, and there's not a lot of them that take you there.
Yeah.
Granted, I know that that's a very difficult area to play. When you're that high level, it becomes very difficult to balance it out right, and becomes much more of a challenge. So, this is one that I might actually want to play through at one point in time, or run or something, just because testing it out. Even if you just use standard core Pathfinder stuff just to keep things simple.
But it makes sense that they're doing it up to 20th. This is probably going to be the last, at least, big adventure that's released
in
under
1.0.
1.0.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to have a last hurrah. Plus, it's also revisiting an old storyline.
Yeah, the Runelords,
Yeah.
The other book that came out, though, that I do want to hit is Planehopper's Handbook, because it's dimension hopping. People have been talking about dimension hopping a bunch now, and that's the thing is, I think I was talking about our planes hopping game that we did, our sliders planes hopping, and now we have a book on planes hopping that they're doing.
Which, like, again, I'm surprised with them getting geared up to go 2.0.
That they're doing it now.
Yeah.
Because this is something that people do, even if it's like a minor thing. Traveling between the planes could deal with this.
So it's like, why wouldn't you just hold off and release it with the new rules for 2.0?
I don't know. Well, the thing is, we haven't seen a good like information on truly adapting between 2.0 and 1.0 because it's still a work in progress.
Right, but I'm saying, why keep putting more 1.0 books out when you're gearing towards...
I think they want to keep up with what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Even if it's like books like this, which it feels like it's a lot of, shouldn't you have had this out earlier?
Yeah, to me, even if I had the money, I wouldn't really be that interested in investing in it at this point. I'd be waiting till the 2.0 books start, till they finish 2.0 and start investing in new material.
Yeah, I know. But these books are, the Player's Companions ones are usually their little, like, paperback ones anyway, so they're not...
Yeah, I mean, this one's only $14.99 for the printed or $10.49 for the PDF. It's not that much. But at the same time, it's like, I might just want to wait.
There are people, when they bring out... Sorry, let's be real, when there's people when they come out 2.0, there's going to be those people, original's better.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And I feel like they're going to keep supporting it for a while afterwards for that reason.
I know people who still play, AD&D.
Yeah. And I think there are people that are holdouts for a lot of different things. And so we're not going to get rid of them. And I think that's why, though, like, a lot of these books, I feel like we can yell at these and be like, shouldn't you have had this out earlier? It's the kind of book that, like, this is kind of, like, obvious stuff in a way, but like the expansion, I think it's gonna be there for a while still, and we haven't really seen a lot of what 2.0 is going to be for their PDFs anyway.
I'll also admit, when it comes to like World of Darkness, I still prefer the before they destroyed the world and came back out with it.
Oh, with Chronicles? Yeah, you still prefer Old World. I do too. Chronicles, I've learned to enjoy portions of it. It's not bad, but like, it's just because my preference is based on lore. I know a lot more.
And it's also what it's what we grew up with.
Yeah, it's what we grew up with.
Yeah, I very much, I'm kind of okay about Chronicles, but New World of Darkness. I'm okay with New World of Darkness, but I actually do like Chronicles. Mm-hmm. They only did minor changes, and in theory, everything in New World is still true, but at the same time, they've edited things.
It's because because when they first switched over, they destroyed the world completely.
Yeah,
had a whole new rule system, and then they kind of backpedaled a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because every single situation in the Old World of Darkness. Now I understand why it's called Old World and New World.
Yeah,
that never occurred to me before. But in Old World of Darkness, part of the reason they had to kind of do that to get to New World of Darkness to update the rules is because every single storyline was apocalyptic in nature.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When it was originally created, the whole point was eventually this world will be destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean,
was very nihilistic, very dark.
Yeah, and I think there's become a place for both the current the World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness as they've become now. So we have just the Chronicles stuff, and then the 20th anniversary stuff, which is basically just the two versions of it at this point in time. Though 5th edition vampires come out.
Old and stuff.
Yeah, I think
5th edition. See, that's the thing is, Chronicles and Anniversary are put out by Onyx Path. The 5th, they're calling it 5th edition Vampire.
Yeah.
That's going to be put up by White Wolf again. Well, kind of. It's going to be White Wolf and
Modiphius.
Apparently,
the one time, I forget when it was, a while ago, that the Honest Pack showed up in chat, that they said they did consult them for some things, but that was about it.
Yeah, it's because they've been working with it a lot. It's probably because they're doing the anniversary stuff, and people they're probably because isn't it Vampire the Masquerade again? Aren't they doing? More
it's Vampire the Masquerade, yeah, because it's based more on the old stuff. Which, I mean, I don't know how much they've updated it in the 5th edition stuff because I haven't had a chance to look over all the books and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say when most people say I prefer the old stuff, they're talking about Vampire.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of people actually kind of like the newer versions of Changeling and like Werewolf and stuff. Werewolf's kind of a split one, but Changeling, most people, from what I understand, prefer the newer one.
Changeling is just weird. I never played it.
I know.
Never got into
I
it.
remember someone explained the differences between the two versions of Changeling, and I thought that they were very interesting. The juxtaposition between them, and I'm like, those would both be interesting to play. But I understand that one, like the newer one, the Chronicles of Darkness version of Changeling, is that Changeling the Dream?
Changeling the Lost.
Changeling the
Changeling
Lost.
the
The Dream was the one original.
Changeling
Yeah.
the Lost sounded easier in a way to play, and that's why I think it was.
I also like the original Mage.
Yeah, Mage I think is one of the Mage and Werewolf are kind of split 50-50. Changelings prefer the new one, and I think a lot of the other ones like Mummy and Geist and stuff weren't in the old one anyway.
I actually went out with
Mummy and Geist were so weird. I don't think they really had enough of a following to feel there was a good transition between them, because it was Geist and Wraith. They were the same thing, but they had completely different names on that one. You know?
Yeah. It's actually interesting. So Changeling has a very interesting transition because it was Changeling the Dreamer, which was it was like the fairy world was like the dream world. Like they basically were one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Then they shifted to no, the fairy world is this place called Arcadia. It's this totally separate universe that Fae take people from Earth to go to their world. And then they're now transitioning kind of with a more connection, as if the Hedge and the Fae are connected to dreams, even if they themselves aren't dreams. So they've kind of now gone a little bit with the Changeling the Lost 2nd edition. They're bringing it back a little bit more to the dream kind of aspect, and they're Hedge, and so the Hedge is kind of the dream world, whereas Arcadia is still its own separate thing. The Hedge is supposed to be the world in between Arcadia and Earth.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of interesting how they're doing that right now.
I feel like Changeling, the original Changeling, it's just they're moving away from it. They trying to take stuff from it, but not do it. Anyway,
yeah, they're definitely sticking more to Lost than they are Dreamer, but they're bringing aspects of Dreams back to Changeling.
I think that's what it is they're trying to find that good balance between all the stuff as much as they can.
Yeah, I know when they destroyed the world and came out with the new World of Darkness book, I originally had bought it and I was like, no one wanted to play it. I'm like, well, crap.
The thing is, I think I really didn't like the way they first did vampires. They did vampire bloodlines or clans completely different, and they were really weird and different. No,
everything is very different. They basically wrote full new books. They almost were like, let's scrap the old system, let's do a whole bunch of new stuff. It's kind of what they did, which I think is why people are either old world or new world, and they're on opposite sides, because they're just so different that they're not really the same thing, despite the fact that they said, by the way, here's the second version. No, it's actually completely different, we like this better, or the second version's better.
Because they managed to create such a huge split, that's why they're like, fine, we'll do both. That was
that's why when Onyx Path got the property as kind of like a license, they're like, we'll make both people happy when we make second versions of both.
Yeah, well, I think by then, where White Wolf had already said, fine, we'll do both, but they kind of were dying, so that's when Onyx Path was like, hey, we'll publish a bunch of stuff for you, and they're like, have at it, fix this mess that we created. And now that they fixed it, they're like, oh, you fixed our mess, don't mind us, we're just gonna take some of this vampire here. From
what I understand, White Wolf kind of got tired of dealing with all of the politics for a while, so they just pushed it onto Onyx Path. Onyx Path kind of polished it up, and now they're like, we'll take another go at it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, oh, look, you fixed a lot of our mess. Thank you. We're just gonna slide this back over here. Don't mind us. We're just,
I'm just happy they're not taking it back. They're letting Onyx Path continue its thing. Probably because it's making them tons of money.
Yeah, I'm sure that because they're probably through the licensing agreement, they've got a lot of money from it. So, I mean, we never hear about their LARP section, even though there was an entire another company doing their LARP stuff. I'm sure that still is big in places, but I tried a vampire LARP once, and it was ridiculous.
Always forget about the LARP thing.
I know it exists. Vampire LARP is weird.
Yes.
We tried it with a friend of ours who wanted to go there, like...
This is all I have to say.
Yeah, you combine the obfuscate and aspects and all that crap, and it makes,
Yeah, you have to do the hand signals, and it's just like, I'm doing 3 things, I don't know.
And that's why we went once and didn't really participate.
It was just like, this is weird.
But, so I guess we're going to see, even, right now, we're seeing books from original Pathfinder, but we're probably going to see even a while after 2.0 finally comes out, we're going to see some original books, too. And probably, because it's similar to, we forget the first books Paizo published were 3.5. The original Rise of the Runelords, which you can't really find very easily, because we only find the anniversary edition, the big book of all of them together, was made for 3.5.
Oh, wait, I didn't realize Pathio started making supplements for 3.5 before they made Pathfinder?
Yes. If
you
look
got to
at some
remember
of the really early stuff, you can see it very easily in there.
Yeah, and you got to remember most of the people who started Pathio was a lot of people who were doing the stuff for 3.5.
Yeah, I knew
and they
that
didn't
much.
like the conversion to 4.0, so they left and started their own thing. And that's why I always call Pathfinder, Pathfinder release 1.0 3.75.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
So
when in reality, it should be called 4.0 alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they started with that. They basically started with continuing 3.5.
I'm probably still one of the 5 people on the planet who actually likes 4.0.
I was fine with it. I liked some of the things it did.
I have a friend at work who likes 4.0. It's actually the only D&D he's played though, so
See, I've never gotten to play a game of it. I just own like a lot of the books, and I've read through them all, and I like it, and I want to run a game at some point, but I can never get people who want to play.
I would love to do some 4.0. I liked the character I had when I played it, which we never finished that adventure.
I know, I'm sorry, but
well, I mean, we were getting a lot of burnout from the last adventure. Yeah, like we were actually playing an interesting way, which it was each adventure of like the however many adventures it was, I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 or something, a different person was going to DM it.
Yeah.
And then their character would become an NPC that would be part of the group, and you kind of switch out. And it was actually really interesting how we were doing it. But the third one, it was 6, and the third one in the series was awful.
Yeah.
It was like that first one where you end up battling Orcus, but the third adventure, you're trapped in a pyramid. You are in there the entire time. It's hard to rest. You're never getting any equipment updates. You're never meeting with any NPCs. It's just a trap, death-filled pyramid that you're there the entire adventure.
And I just felt it was more a miniatures game than a true D&D game.
So this is part of the reason why I don't mind it so much, is because I'm someone who loves using maps.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with doing that. It's just, if I want to play miniatures, I'll play miniature. If I want to play D&D, I want to play D&D.
And I think that was the thing, is also we were playing the first adventure, which has a lot harder time integrating the actual aspects of D&D. I'm pretty sure if we looked at some of the later adventures they did, they probably integrated it better.
Yeah, it's just initially...
They also do some, like, in the second DMG, like the GMD version 2 or whatever they called it, they added a lot more flexibility and stuff that they didn't have in the first one, which was, here's how you play our board game. The second one was like, here's how you alter our board game to make it a game.
Yeah, to make it a role-playing game. Yeah.
Because they recognized that, but people, at that point, so many people had given up on it that it wasn't, like, worth it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, is, like, I liked aspects of it. There were things that I found were very fun there, and it's just that we didn't like. It was hard to continue it, but anyway.
I know we kind of went on long.
No, that's fine.
Random topics.
let's move on. Let's
I'm very
talk.
good at that.
Yeah, let's talk about Munchkin because they've got a bunch of things that have come out that I do want to hit on some of them. So, like Munchkin Starfinder, that's out. Yay. That's not one of the ones that I really have a problem with because, I mean...
That was coming. We all saw it coming.
We saw the Kickstarter for it, and they did a Pathfinder one, so of course they'll do a goddamn Starfinder one, even though it's like...
Oh, I didn't even see the Kickstarter for it. I was just... Or maybe I did. I don't remember. But I was just like, Pathfinder one, Starfinder one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the obvious ones. The one that I thought is just really weird is they already have a Red Dragon Inn that they did some Munchkin stuff in. Now they're doing a Munchkin one that they're doing Red Dragon Inn stuff in. Why do they need this crossover in two directions? Like, I don't see a Gloom Munchkin set or a Castle Panic Munchkin set. Because those don't make a lot of sense. It doesn't
Money grab?
The thing is, it's not even like a really big thing. It's unfortunate it's only 29 cards. Oh, I'm sorry, plus a bonus card, they say, for $10. That's not a good one. You know, I don't know.
No. But if you look at some of the stuff like the Munchkin Light stuff they did, it made no sense either.
I mean, if they had done it this way first, maybe I could have excused it more because I didn't think Red Dragon Inn. I thought it was it's a bigger card game than some others, but I didn't think it was like Munchkin levels that Munchkin stuff should be. You know, like the Munchkin stuff in it first. I was like, fine, that's cool, okay. The reverse, I just don't see as much. You know, because it's taking stuff from another board game instead of like pop culture or a genre.
It's not the first time they've done that, though, I think.
For a board game? Yeah. I don't remember any others.
Maybe I'm wrong.
They've done the reverse where they've inserted themselves into board games or card games.
Yeah.
Like what they did with Red Dragon Inn. I don't know.
They've done it with role-playing games.
Well, they did it with Pathfinder. Well, that's the big one they did it with because sure. I mean, I could understand, like, Pathfinder, in Starfinder, I can excuse to a degree. The reason I can excuse them is that it comes up, there's a lot of weird and stupid monsters in Pathfinder. And
Warhammer.
They did Warhammer. I literally just saw, I was looking, I'm like, what have they done? Yeah, they did a Warhammer version of Munchkin.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Warhammer's just. I think I described it as I felt like it was awful then. You know why don't I feel like this one is awful here too? Like
and the other one that we were going to talk about too, Starfinder.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Starfinder one to a degree. To a degree, I can excuse it.
So the
but they've already done
are a little bit more manageable because they're more like they're definitely a lot more story driven. They're a lot more like, you know, taking, let's say they have like the Wizard of Oz one where it's like, you know, it's based on kind of something that has more of a world to it.
Yeah.
Well, whereas
okay. Well, I agree. The RPG ones, like especially if you think monsters, huge bestiaries or monster manuals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the ones I don't understand either was they did Munchkin Marvel, which was great, but they also followed up with Munchkin X-Men, which... Why a specific Marvel property?
Ask the people who run Marvel that, because they do kind of the same thing.
I know,
I'm just... finally now integrating X-Men into, like, their Marvel universe.
Well, that was because Sony owned...
No, Fox
owned X-Men, I mean, I'm sorry, yeah.
And now that...
yeah, I forgot, because Sony owns Spider-Man, I know that much.
Yeah, and they finally came up, you know, with an agreement that Sony was like, okay, we'll let you make some... we're keeping the property, but we'll let you actually use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, that now that Disney effectively has Fox and that the deal is pretty sealed, not 100%, but pretty sealed, they can actually like bring in X-Men characters, and that's an entirely different story because they did like in their big, I think one of the big book they just put out, they did hint at something that could lead to introducing mutants, basically. Something they mentioned are Scarlet Witch, that like when they're talking about the Mind Stone, that it could be a power that was given to her, or it was a power, something that maybe was awakened inside.
Right.
Hint, hint, mutants. Hint, hint.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, did you say, like, 'cause there is a Munchkin Gloom?
There is a Munchkin
There's not
Gloom.
There's not a Gloom Munchkin, but there's a Munchkin
Yeah, that's what he
Gloom.
was saying.
Yeah, that
But they
Munchkin
haven't
is
done Gloom.
the Munchkin has managed to insert itself into some other games, but never as
like
much
Munchkin
the reverse.
Panic.
Yeah, and Munchkin
Yeah.
Panic. But like the reverse hasn't really been.
Yeah,
Like
they haven't
cardboard
done
games.
Okay.
Munchkin.
Yeah.
They did a Gloom Munchkin, but not a Munchkin Gloom.
Yeah. So it's just kind of weird that they're like, hey, now we're doing the reverse. Ah!
And the other one I saw that is a new core set too, other than the Starfighter, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw that as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Which,
I'm like,
yeah.
they seem to come out with these like after the fact they were popular.
well,
That's the
there's a
weird
new
thing
Turtle series coming out because that Nickelodeon constantly reboots, apparently, their
yeah.
series in order to get more money or more toys or something. I don't know.
But they did that before though too. It's like, wait, there was a big popularity for this like a few years ago. Why are you doing it now?
Yeah.
I mean,
At least like Munchkin Rick and Morty, which is still weird. You know, that's still a thing now.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah.
It's still popular.
Oh yeah, here's the other two themed games. Munchkin Loot Letter, it's basically Love Letter with Munchkin theme, and Munchkin Smash Up. Weird.
Yeah.
I think it's just Steve Jackson Games continues to do weird crap that I don't understand, and like it'll probably still make money hand over
there's
fist.
also Munchkin Quest.
Yeah,
Oh,
their board game, like Quest style board game, it was an interesting concept. It's not a bad concept. That's the kind of thing that I'm like, when that's like integrating it to something a little closer to something like the Curse of Strahd or the
Yeah.
or like the Temple of Elemental Evil big D&D board games. It's not quite as far as one of those, but it's moving it that direction. And Munchkin that
Yeah.
fits perfectly with. So Munchkin Quest was a fine idea.
Yeah. Here's one that I did not realize. Munchkin Sketch Edition,
Yeah, that looked so.
which they just didn't print the artwork on the card so you could sketch it yourself.
They have a deluxe food one. Did you see Crazy Cooks that they're planning on?
Yeah, I
just
saw
noticed
that. But I'm just like,
Food big.
they just didn't print the artwork. They're like, here, you make the art.
based.
Well, there's also Munchkin Crazy Cookies.
Why? Why?
I also want to point. I mean, I guess it's technically it's funny because to not have artwork on your cards, it's $5 cheaper.
Yeah. They probably save a hell of a lot more money than.
Yeah.
But that's like I said before with the Munchkin Light editions. They're like a few bucks cheaper, and you get less than about half the cards about. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, why would you even do that? Why wouldn't you just spend the money, the extra few bucks, get all the cards, and if you don't want to play with all of them, take them out.
It looks like the sketch edition is basically it's all the cards from the base set without the art that you can
Yeah.
put the art in that you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Which is-
exactly. But that seems like a money grab again.
A little bit of one. It's an interesting concept, but it's like also like a weird concept kind of thing.
Also, I think it should be a lot cheaper than just $5 cheaper.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure printing the artwork costs more money than $5.
Yep. All right. I don't.
Anyway,
I don't
Yeah.
want to even touch on the collectible card game. I was gonna say something about it, but let's just move on. I'm done with Munchkin today. They continue
They'll
their
be back next week.
They probably will
and
be back with something else that'll be awful next week that we can talk about.
yeah,
Or something.
one
or
last
one
thing.
Mhm.
They did do a Kickstarter for the Turtles one.
Sure, they did. They seem to do a Kickstarter for all of them at this point in time.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Why don't we move on to Pandemic Fall of Rome? Because apparently that's a thing that we need.
I don't know why it's even a pandemic.
Yes.
Because it's not. It's you're basically defending Rome from.
Yeah.
Which I can see the games play of Pandemic working for.
You guys talk about this for a second. I have to run for a second. Sorry.
Okay. I can see the gameplay for Pandemic working for this. The game style, but it's not a pandemic. It doesn't deal with disease.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do
Go ahead. Based on the one thing I don't mind too much though is the way they set up the because the way they set up the title of it, it's like Pandemic Fall of Rome. I think it's just saying Pandemic style board game, but with a different skin is kind of what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're gonna do something like that, one you could do if you're gonna do a historical one, do like like the Black Death or bubonic, something like that.
I'm surprised they didn't do that because I've almost been expecting that.
Yeah, that would be a more logical step, or even maybe do Pompeii.
Okay,
it's not technically a disease, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems that the gameplay is actually slightly different, though, too. Just looking at some of the things, because it seems like it's like you apparently draw cards for them to travel along a trajectory, rather than rather than draw black, they spread in this predictable pattern. It's like the army of this place marches forward.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, and there's areas where it's like some of them meet. Like, there's specific black ones, specific blue ones, specific green, white, and orange. But there's ones that it's like, oh, well, white and orange are here. Black and green can go here.
So it's kind of interesting because actually, why even call it Pandemic? Because it's almost got a different mechanic to it. It's got a similar feel, I guess, in terms of the way it runs.
And there's dice.
Yeah. So why not just
make it its own thing?
Yeah, kind of like how you have...
Just make it Fall of Rome.
Yeah, just call it Fall of Rome. Like, was there... I mean, did you call... what's that one game? Where the sands are, like, rising and you have to...
Oh, Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert.
Yeah, Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert. I guess those have, like, they're, like, similar games and they have a similar name, but, like... They didn't necessarily have to, but you know, but they're both very similar in play.
There's some different mechanics, but not a huge amount of difference. Where this is a lot of difference. And
by the way,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna catch Tantus up. So we found out that the way you play the game is also quite different than Pandemic. So it's not just Pandemic in Rome. It's got a different
because
mechanic to it.
Like when they did the Pandemic, the like the Netherlands one with the locks and stuff, it was similar gameplay, but completely different setting because it wasn't like disease you were dealing with. It was flooding, and that still worked in my mind.
That makes a little bit more sense because flooding behaves in a very predictable manner. This one, it's like marching armies. They march along these paths, and you have to stop that. And it's like, okay. They literally made a completely different game, called it Pandemic Fall of Rome, when in reality they probably should just called it Fall of Rome, because it's a different game entirely.
The only reason the main reason I could think they probably called it Pandemic Fall of Rome was Pandemic is a known game and it's very popular, so they're trying to play off the popularity of the Pandemic.
And it does have a very mild similarity to it.
Yeah. it's there are some concepts that are probably similar that they're trying to get on the coattails of the entire.
Like you still have the cubes and everything, but this one also involves dice. It also, there's a predictable marching thing it does. So that's why it's like it's different enough. I think it could have just been followed.
Yeah.
By the same, it's like by Z-Man Games.
But now that we've kind of gotten past that, it looks like it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a good game.
No. It from what I was looking at, it's a very interesting game that they're working on. So it's like, it's not that it's a bad game. It's just that they went a direction they probably didn't need to go with that.
Yeah. They just didn't need to call it Pandemic.
Definitely, I agree that they just did not need to go in the direction of being like, hey, it's another Pandemic game. Because those are
Because
things.
also when you think pandemic, you think disease.
Yeah.
And as Wyrm and I were saying, the Black Death would have made, like, they haven't done one for that. Why wouldn't you do that instead? Under the pandemic name, that would make us a great historical one.
Yeah, you could definitely do a lot of.
Yeah. I just want to point out, definition of pandemic is a disease prevalent over a whole country or the world.
Yeah.
An outbreak of a pandemic disease. And it's like,
there could have been very good opportunities to do various types of pandemic things that would have made sense, that would have been interesting, and they're not going any of those directions, especially if you're going historical. So, I don't know.
Or the Red Death. TB. Yeah. That was a big thing. There's plenty of the historical diseases could have done before trying to offshoot into stuff like this.
Or it could have been smallpox in the New World.
Yeah.
Well, even if you didn't go disease, you could use the idea of like a pandemic type game and keep it with the same one for something similar to like the what's it called, locks and dams or something. I don't know.
Well, I even said you could do like maybe Pompeii.
Yeah.
So, what they almost should have done is say from the fall of Rome, from the creators of Pandemic.
Yeah.
Would have been and have that like plastered down at the bottom in kind of obvious big letters, and it's like it gets the same point across.
That it's a similar game style without having to call it Pandemic.
Yeah. I don't know. There's definitely some things that they could have done to improve stuff, but we'll have to
still looks like a good game. It's just oddly named. Yeah.
I will certainly agree. All right. So Pandemic Fall of Rome, though, is coming out, and it's a cool-looking game. It doesn't need to be Pandemic, but it's a cool-looking game.
It's not Pandemic, but it's a cool-looking game that has a Pandemic feel.
Basically, yes. It's Pandemic Light. And the other one that I wanted to kind of go over is Discover Unknown Lands by Fantasy Flight.
It's actually Discover Lands Unknown.
I was about to say that.
Yes. I'm sorry. Of course I'm saying it wrong. Of course. That's just me.
Yeah, because I looked it up and I'm like, oh, it's not
I just noticed that in your docket, Pathfinder is Plains Popper.
Oh my god! It's fine. It's fine. There's an extra P in there. Popper. Popper. They didn't need to spell correctly. Whatever. It's fine. Okay.
Well, the way you originally put it was with no O and two P's. It was Plains.
So the thing is, what's interesting is they're saying that every copy of Discover Lands Unknown is different. They have a sorting algorithm for a combination of components which can be found in the game. So your combination will be unlike any other person's combination. And that's actually really interesting. Because it's like, you might be on a dense forest or a freezing mountaintop, while a friend's copy could have you surviving on a desert island or a harsh desert. And it's the same set of rules that will guide you through the journey. But
Does it play the exact same for each one?
Yes, it's got the same basic rules. The big difference is just that like all the like setting components and things like that are completely randomized. So there's like a combination of like the characters, the settings, the items that you might have and use, things like that, and maybe some of you in the challenges that you will face to survive, because it is kind of like a survival based board game, will be randomized.
Cool.
Which is kind of a very interesting thing.
I have both. I think this is both cool and dumb at the same time. So
yeah, I can agree on that.
Because of how randomized it is, like, cool. I want to get some of the other experiences. Let me buy another copy. Oh, look, I have desert again. I get some new people, but I have desert again.
Yeah.
It's like this is gonna cause problems for people who want to actually play the different aspects of the game, because it's random. So you say, oh, you might get it, and your friend will get a different one. Well, what if you get it, your friend gets it, you both have the same one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a downside.
So there's almost gonna have to be, in my mind, a
Granted.
Yeah, there's probably gonna be a need for some amount of. There's probably gonna be forums for trading pieces and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the cards, tiles, and tokens are going to be randomized. And the thing is, you brought up a great point. They're supposed to have a very big selection, so the chances of you getting two copies that are very similar, like really, really similar, very low. But it exists.
But that's not even my point. My point is okay, so there's 4 lands, so you're going to get 1 of 4. So there's 1 in 4 chance for that. Oh, wait, or are there multiple so there's island, but then there's multiple collections of island tiles you can get?
I think so.
Okay. That's almost a little bit better, because that still at least adds some variability, even among the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can get the same game, but have 2 different... So, this still leads to a problem, though, where it's like... It's basically what I consider the CCG problem. If you want to have things a specific way, or you want a specific character, but they're randomized, well, now you're not just buying card packs, which, can add up. You can go online and buy specific cards if you want a specific thing, but now you're having to buy a $60 game.
Yeah.
Instead of like a $10 booster pack.
I can see this making a secondary market.
There will definitely be a secondary
market. Where people are like, there will
be a secondary market.
Yeah, it's like, I got, a bunch of deserts. I'm willing to sell 20 of these tiles if anyone wants them.
Yeah.
Or I have multiples of this character.
I think what this also
create a very big secondary market if it becomes a big game.
I think the other thing it could possibly encourage is it might encourage, like, an unfortunate thing is, like, when you think about a gaming group, normally one person buys a game. Sometimes you do get multiple people buying a game, especially like if there's one person that doesn't show up as much, then like, oh, it's but like,
who got the game and everyone's like, ooh, I want to play that, but they're never here. Okay, who wants to buy it?
Yeah, but now this encourages every person in that group to buy the game.
Right, so you can randomize.
Yep.
But better.
Randomize better, and come up with your own randomizations from the components you get anyway.
Yeah.
It encourages that. And I think that's the thing that's going to be the heavy hitter in this entire thing, is it's encouraging more people to buy it. Because you all want your own copy anyway. And then when you have your group of friends, they have their own copies. And it encourages a lot of these differences. And then, and yes, you're saying the secondary market will definitely exist too, if this catches on. This is a very strange experiment that they're doing.
The only problem I could see with multiple copies in one game group is when you're sharing to randomize. How do you know? Unless you write down, you're probably going to forget. Oh, I put in 5 desert tiles to this.
It might be because
the back. I've done that. Actually, what I do, so for cardboard things, you write a small letter on the side. I've done that with board games before.
Well, it also could be like certain components.
I do that because for things like Heroescape, was a big reason I got into doing that, because me and my friend both had HeroScape, and it was much more fun to combine all our pieces and build a gigantic map to fight on. And so each of us had, well, actually, funny enough, it was, we knew the difference because mine had letters on it and his didn't.
Right.
I didn't want to get them mixed up, but he was like, eh.
It could just be as simple as, like, you know, you use this person's component, this type of component here, this person's this type of component here. Like, this guy's characters, these guys' tiles, this guy's cards.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you could keep it very simple. Granted, you could
But
go
if
for,
it's like, oh, I want these cards in here and those,
yeah,
that's
you
where
get to,
you
like,
get the...
yeah, that's where you get difficulties. Not impossibilities, but it's more work and then sorting it out.
I never found a problem with, like, doing a little small symbol or something on all your
Yeah.
cards just to tell them apart.
It's just also teardown time is going to go high.
Yeah, it increases the time when you're, like, doing integrations like that. But the thing is, if the game is fun enough, it will
It's worth
encourage
it.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Which, that's the question. It's a kind of survival-based game, it seems. You know, like, you're in a situation, in a wilderness, you must, like, you're marooned there, you must cooperate, search for food, water, and tools to survive. And
I
guess-
actually hope it gets popular enough that it ends up on tabletop.
That would be
Yeah.
weird to do. I mean, it could be possible, but it would be so
That'd be
many...
really hard. That'd be
Well-
really hard because someone would have to scan in all those tiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if someone did, what I'm saying is, then you could have maybe a full set of everything to choose from.
It would
If
be
someone
like...
gets if you get a good programmer, you could get completely randomized things. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
It would be
Actually, that would be
awesome. I'm
hard.
not saying it would be easy, but it would be awesome because then it's like, oh, every game can be really different and you have from everything to choose from.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it definitely...
It's interesting they're not doing it as expansion stuff instead of just doing random boxes.
I'm definitely curious to see how it's going to go. You know, that's the thing is, this is a game that I would like to watch and see how the release goes and what evolves from it. If it is a big game and it has a big market, or if it's just an interesting little experiment that Fantasy Flight has put together.
Right.
I don't know. There's definitely I understand, like, you could feel like there's the call of money connected to this. Because it seems...
Oh, there definitely is.
But, like... Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's more of an experiment in what, because that's the thing is money drives things.
Always.
Definitely by making things have a barrier between money, it makes you have to get creative with how to get extra stuff from it. You know, like, unless you're a rich boy who could just throw money around without problems, you know.
Yeah,
it's
we're
like,
just gonna buy 10, boxes.
Yeah.
just gonna keep buying boxes until I get enough to do what I want, till I can have every piece, you know. It's like that, and unless you get that, you know, like, it's gonna be interesting to see how people handle this game.
I'm also interested to see if they'll tell us how many components there actually is at some point in time so that we get an idea and can judge it properly.
Yeah, like how many different possible combinations of boxes are there?
Yeah. So, all right. Why don't we finish up though and move on
Yeah,
to
because
our
we're
regular
running a little
segments.
late.
We are running a little late.
Yep.
Kickstarter Korner. I haven't chosen one. Did either of you guys pick one together?
I could
I
do one
did.
if you want me to.
You did. Well, why don't you do one? And then Joe, if you really feel like you found.
I have a
one.
simple one.
Okay, so why don't we have you two go? I'll just skip mine, so that'll be a little quicker. We'll quickly do an hour week in tabletop
And let me know if you guys found this one before.
That's
'Cause I
fine.
haven't been here for a while, so I don't
Yeah.
know. But the one I found was called Zero Gravity.
Nope.
Don't think we did. No.
Okay. It's a very interesting board game where it's actually got a magnetic board that's in like a ring, and you actually have tiles on the ceiling, tiles on the side, tiles on the bottom, and it's like it's as they put it, it's a capture the flag style board game where it's almost like an arena battle royale. You get points by killing people, you get points by capturing the flag, you get points by setting off like a bomb or something like that. There's some like special bomb which you can set off, which does things, and it's a very interesting looking game. But it's also, the movement is very interesting because it's supposed to be like this special gravity ring, but at the same time it's still supposed to be like somewhere on Earth or something. So that's why it's like there's actually a drop mechanic where you can drop from the top to the bottom, but you can't go in reverse. But then the side panels, the ones that are like diagonal, are supposed to be launch pads, so you can launch from one side to the other in either direction. And you can, there's like little jump areas you can get around, and it's like there's different ways to move based on where you are on the map, which can make very interesting like strategy, which I just thought looked like a really neat concept.
Well, this looks kind of cool. Like,
it does look interesting.
Yeah.
And it's about halfway funded. It's about a third funded, and it's got half the time left to go. So it's possible because it's now up in kind of the higher runnings anyway, because it got starting to get some views, I guess. But the big downside to it is they only have one pledge. And that's to get the game. Like, that's probably why it's probably struggling. I think that was a very poor decision. It's basically 90 euros of just about. It's 89 euros just to get the game and unlock all stretch goals. They did not do anything special with tiers.
Yeah, and it's like 100, which is $103.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's an expensive one, and not to have any other things, that is a limitation.
Granted, the game itself has like 80 miniatures in it, so I mean that is.
I'm not saying it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And just the 3D concept and the magnetic part of it, that's going. Magnets aren't cheap.
No.
Yeah. No, it's definitely you get it for the money, but a lot of other things that do this will be like, you get a place on our box for pledging this much. You get a mention in the back of our rule book, or you get a poster or something. Like they do things like that with these. I don't know why
they would have a couple extra higher tiers almost. Like you could have that as the low tier or something. Or
right.
Or I would have liked to seen like maybe like just a thank you tier or something like at low level. Just so that feels like someone that wants to like feel good about supporting it or something.
I mean, the way Kickstarter works is you can pledge any amount. You can pledge any amount lower to the actual amount just to pledge.
Right.
But most people just will click on the low one that's like a thank you tier just because.
Yeah.
If they find something they want to support. Just giving money isn't quite in the same way, and I feel like they've missed out on that when they did Kickstarter. But it's a really cool looking game. It's definitely gotten some what's the term? Some
traction?
Not propaganda, but like it's gotten some attention.
Press.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's gotten some press from what I've seen, so it has potential to move forward. But I think that's probably what's hurting them really badly right now is that one tier system.
So we would go for the suggestion of if you really, really like it, pledge support, or at least keep your eye on it if you're interested. That's I guess that's the best way, because there's always those like last day pledge drive. Of people finally being like, yeah, I'll settle on it.
Yep.
Cool.
Waiting to see what else happens. Yeah.
Zero gravity. That looks neat. Joe, you have one?
Yeah. Mine's very simple. It's a dice roller app.
Oh.
But it's very customizable. Is its thing.
Okay.
So it's called
Zero Gravity.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's also 2 to 4 players, which is nice. You can do it with 2 people.
That is always good. The number of players there. Cool. So
it's this one's called Big 20.
Right.
It basically it's a
little 20.
Yeah, it's like a. Actually, I think it's an actual die that's digital. I'm actually looking at. So it's almost like a giant magic 8-ball, but it is. But you can program it.
That's funny. That's actually really kind of neat.
I kind of like that.
So you can set which die you want, and then you shake it like a magic 8-ball, and it rolls for you.
Yeah. So actually, that's cooler than just a dice roller app. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a 90s cell phone, magic 8-ball, and a dungeon master have a baby, and that's what this is.
But what I love about it is completely customizable. You can make the D20, D12s, specialty dice, anything you want. Basically, you can make random charts, everything.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Or actually, one thing that it makes me think of is when
And
you
it
had
comes in
your
5 colors.
yes, when you had your one game that had the speaking randomized chart, you could have programmed this and shook it and had it say, "Oh, this is what the guy says."
That's
But
really neat.
It doesn't seem, though, unfortunately, that it might make. Well, there's only 11 days to go. It has 35 backers, but only $2,507 out of its $70,000.
Yeah. It's not impossible, just unlikely, unfortunately. So this is definitely one that, like, again, maybe keep your eye out or pledge with the expectation that it might not go. Because if you pledge and nothing happens, you get your money back anyway. So
yeah, but it's not super expensive though either.
oh yeah, the pledges aren't bad. Yeah.
And I'm trying to see where you actually get the koozie.
$60 you get it at.
So yeah, $60 you get the big 20 and any exclusive updates from the team.
Yeah.
That's
So-
kind of high to get the product.
It is a little high to get the product, but if you consider it is a computerized thing.
The thing is, I think they could have like not had some of their lower tiers.
Yeah, because
the opposite problem.
Yeah,
they
because
have-
the cozy is like, well, why the cozy's nice and the posters are nice stuff, but if I don't have the product, why do I want this stuff?
Yeah, I think this is the opposite problem than what was going on with the other one. It's too many lower tier things.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
one or
like
two would have been okay. Like maybe like the $5 one with like a sticker and a thank you, just for like, hey,
Yeah,
if
like
you,
I. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
hey, you get something out of this, and then maybe like one of the middle tier ones with a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I've seen things that go like $5, $10, $80, and it's like whoa. But when you look at it, it's like okay, well they didn't really have much else to offer, and like
Okay.
I guess they're trying too hard to get like
I-
lower tiers.
I think what's funny is if you look at the really high tiers, like pledge 200 or more, the guy will DM a one-shot adventure for your party and roll 20. Do 750 more, the guy will come out to your house to do a one-shot adventure for your party. Or 2,000 or more, and he'll host a marathon gaming party at his house.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Wow. Yup. Man.
I think this person, I think they have a great idea, but I think their marketing could do a little bit of work.
Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, it doesn't look like this is going to get off the ground with this one, with 11 days and only being
Well, the thing
a
about
couple thousand out of 70.
the thing about this is maybe backing this project with the knowledge that you probably won't actually back it might be a good way to see in the future if they, you know, because this is the first one they've done. It says first created.
Right.
So maybe like, because there's a couple of things that I've seen Kickstarter that have been Kickstarted a couple of times because they evolve what they're doing and what they're showing off, and they like they get better at it. And maybe
Yeah, like, I
this will
think
be like a first failure, but might lead to something good.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at everything that it does, bless you, and comes
Thank you.
with, it's not bad because, I mean, they, you know, considering they programmed all the animation, it can hook up to an app that you can change it on the fly. You know, you can do classes through it and everything to, you know, set it up that, hey, you can tap on in your app what you want to roll.
Oof.
So considering the versatility, it's not bad.
Nope.
It's just, it's a bit expensive, but $60 is a bit expensive. But if you think, what would you pay for a high-end set of dice that's really cool? It's not completely out there.
No. Cool. All right. I've had that up the entire time. I shouldn't have that up. Jeez. So bad. Discovery Unknown Lands was advertising to us the entire time. Why don't we move on to one of our final segments, our Week in Tabletop. Wyrm, what kind of stories of tabletop? Anything interesting that you've had over, like, the I don't know forever?
Well, finished the Bastion Frontier. I don't know if you talked about that.
I did talk about that a little bit, yes.
Been doing... but mostly I've ended one game, another one's going to be stalled for a little while probably, and the last one I'm still trying to get off the ground because it keeps running into trouble. So right now I don't have much games going on. One thing is Amber City has been fun.
Yeah.
We're figuring stuff out there. I had a really weird moment in the last game where I was like, gosh, it was so bad because it's like I wasn't in character yet, but I was trying to do an important character moment because it was just at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And I was like doing all the setup for stuff because I'm a player in that game, and it's like I was doing all the setup. I get into the game and it's like, crap, I have a moment I want to do, but I wasn't in character, and it kind of turned out really weird. It was fine. But it was just very cliche because I was running off tropes instead of actually like my character because I was just not in character yet. Like, it takes me a little while to get into character for these things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was good, but it was just kind of like, it was a weird moment. It was nice character growth all the same.
Yeah.
Anything else? No. See,
Yeah.
The thing is, like, games have been bad for me lately. I need to get things going on that.
God, I can understand that. Like, I'm glad I got my World of Darkness game started, but like the other one that I was focusing on at the same time, my Shadowrun game, is kind of like at a weird stalled moment because two of the people that were possibly going to be in it are now like probably can't do it, and I'm like, welp. I almost had 4 players.
One of those players between us is the same.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Well, I'll have to say.
Yep.
I'll have to say.
Yep. No, I totally get it. Getting good players for streams is hard.
You have to get lucky a little bit, and you have to do a lot
And
of
timing,
Yeah.
lucky, and you just have to keep throwing invites out there. It seems I haven't thrown I have to start like a couple of new rounds of invites or something. That's what I think I do.
Yeah.
I would help you out more, but my schedule with work prevents me from doing a lot of the times that you're doing afternoon games and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for me, Joe, what do you do? First, you do yours. I think you had Madison.
Yeah. The only thing I've really done this week was Madness of the Land with you, which we met some really dick pixies.
Sprites, thank you very
or
much.
Sprites, pixies, whatever.
They extorted you.
Let's hope they weren't dick pixies.
Yeah.
Fought back to back a cockroach swarm.
Yeah.
While I and Orn completely ignored it.
Yeah.
And picked the lock instead, which triggered a fight right after the cockroach swarm ended.
Yeah.
With what kind of undead was it?
It was a ghast.
With a ghast.
Yeah.
Which bit me right away.
Yeah. Hit you in the face.
And then I just kept up ineffectively trying to stab it and running away.
Yep. It was fine. It was fine. There were some interesting story beats in town, and you found some interesting stuff, and you actually did like explore.
I got
some
an armor
things.
Upgrade.
Yes, and then Grits got kidnapped by horrible monsters, so your dwarf is now kidnapped by horrible creatures that live below the city that they don't seem like they were natives to begin with.
And 2 of us are wearing
People
stuff that came from sentient beings.
Yeah, they found it. They found out that the tanners, that the tanner was actually using people to make leathers, and so one of them is wearing a magic leather armor made of people, and Joe's character has a very nice vest made of people.
I actually wore something made of people in a game I played a while back. This was like before I started streaming.
Yep.
It was just like this whole we broke up this whole demon cult, and one of the things they had was magical boots made of people, and it's like, why let this go to waste?
They're really nice boots.
That was my character's point of view. Is I'm chaotic neutral.
I mean, they're already dead, and it's really nice.
Yeah, it's like it's already happened. So to me, there's no, it's like moral ambiguity there, really. So it's like
you really can't encourage the guy because he's long since dead. And
it's like I wouldn't promote people to skin people and make art, stuff out of them. But if it's already happened,
why
and
not?
we find it, okay. So I have a vest made of real halfling chest, and I'm a halfling.
Yep.
My only question is, does it have nipples?
I mean, probably not. I don't know. I didn't ask.
And then we have Orin wearing +1 human armor.
Now I've got the Simpsons song. See my vest,
Just
see my vest, made from real gorilla chest.
Yes, that's what I was thinking when I got that made from real halfling chest.
I cannot. I've referenced that song a lot lately for the one game I've been playing a lot of off stream, because in the one in Rainbow Six Siege, the one character puts down like armored vests for people. So every time it happens, I have to think of that song. I'm sorry, I can't help it. The only other thing I did this week is I had Legacies of Kain, which was a little rough start, but I think they've settled in really well. The vampire game. I mean, it was really fun that the Nosferatu basically they failed their first mission because it was part of the story to fail the first mission, and the second one was to basically a archaeologist has found a document that is of ancient vampire. So they're like, no, get it away from him. Humans shouldn't have this. And so it's currently in customs in Philadelphia, and they're based out of New York. So one of them went in and scouted out the customs place because they're like, well, we could steal it from there, or we could wait till it's out of customs because we know that the guy that's getting it is going to go to a friend in the town to get it looked at. So we could try to steal it in that point. So then they started scouting out the friend, and he works at a college, so they had college misadventures, and they were ridiculous. Because the one of them pretended to be like a person's father to like break into a room, and they're like, no, this is not gonna work. It's so bad. They're a pretty ridiculous group. It's fun. And I think the only other thing is I did what the hell game did I played Unfair with some people on Sunday then. Yes.
I should be free tomorrow for board games again.
Cool. Yes, but it was very fun. Yeah, I think that's it. Consult the table. If any of you in chat have any kind of questions to consult us, blah blah blah. I mean, we say this. I say this often.
Yeah.
If you have a question, any kind, you can leave it in chat now. Ow! I smacked my hand while trying to like tap it like this. Just missed and swacked. Leave it in chat. Leave it in the discussions of any kind of YouTube video. Send it to us on any of our Discord. Send it to us on any of our Twitters, any of those things. Just let us a question anytime and we'll answer it here. There we go. Bam. Cool. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you once again, Joe and Wyrm, for joining me. Either of you have any kind of things to kind of shout out or talk about?
I promote you.
Yes.
Catch me on twitch.tv/diamondworm.
Yes.
I stream things very infrequently right now, because things keep falling through for me. But I will get back into it very shortly. But yeah, I'm trying to get a lot of things organized, but a lot of things have ended, and I haven't been able to get things to start because of complications. And so I've just kind of left with a kind of dead zone right now, and so I need to get that going again.
Cool. Working on it. All right, Joe promotes me, and as usual, you can find me here fairly daily. Fairly daily. I'm usually here at least once a day. Mornings, oftentimes evenings for stuff. I'll be back tomorrow morning for, I guess, I don't know, maybe Hat in Time, because the new DLC was very fun, and I'm happy that I got it, because
So happy makes you happy.
it's adorable, and adorable platformer. Though, like, the last time I was playing it, apparently, like, the difficulty level is very high for the new DLC, so I was getting a little frustrated for, like, platforming perfection, you know, kind of thing. So, plenty of challenges there. And then tomorrow everything's tabletop, and of course you can catch Legacies of Kain and Manus and Last Land, the 2 RPG shows. And hopefully, on Wyrm's channel at some point soon, Stars Without Numbers.
As soon as I get another player, which I'll work in. I think I have one. I'm just not sure about his compatibility with everyone, so I'm gonna have to run like maybe some tests with that. Get you guys together just to see how he
that's fine.
works
Like,
with you guys.
Like, I don't. I'm curious about Tiv and Tesh at that point, and Winter. Wait, who did we lose? We lost Winter.
We've lost Winter.
Tiv and Tesh. I'm curious about them. I'm pretty
Tiv,
like whatever. So
yeah, you're very middle of the road, whereas Tiv is someone who is very much prefers people. I think everyone probably has a type of gamer they are not compatible with. I very much have that, I've found, and it's the tester is what I've called it in terms of like as a player style, like the poker or the experimenter is what I've heard it called, where it's like they just do things. They treat it very much like a video game, and they just throw things around like they don't care, and it's like it is a fake world.
Yeah,
and that really bothers me as a GM or as a player.
Right.
It's just something I can't deal with, because it's just like I like to treat my worlds much more realistically. At least to a degree, you know, as realistic as fantasy can be. But it's like, at least as far as people go, when they're just like, I meta this and do that and do this for no good reason other than meta. It's like, because I just find it fun to mess around with things. And it's like, no.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, okay. Thank you all for joining us. At least we'll see who. We'll try to be all here next week. You know, if someone was missing or someone's missing, but at least, you know, we're back in the saddle. We'll say. Totally,
right.
Probably. And we'll see you all here another time for more tabletop news and for more excitement. Thank you, and goodbye!
Bye!